Welcome back to the Skid Factory, where today we're starting a new project. Alan.
This is my 2016 KTM 300 EXC, 2 strokes, that's all you need. It's got a golden tyre on the back, a fatty on the front. Dude, it's got a tubeless.
Not about the bikes, Alan.
It's got stegs.
Not about the bikes, bro.
What?
It's the other project.
What project?
These aren't projects, man.
Mine. Well, that is.
Mine kind of is. The ongoing project.
What project? Oh.
Before we get stuck into it, we've got some special news, and that is that we're going to have another meetup up here in Queensland. So we're going to be at Nambour Showgrounds on August 16th to the 18th at Power On Petrie. So it's a really epic driving event. There's going to be burnouts, there's going to be a go-to-woe, there's a dirt skid pan, there's a dyno, you can just, your heart's content, just go on the dyno as many times as you like. Really looking forward to it. We're going to be there, going to have a heap of cars there.
Yeah, so you won't be watching, you'll be doing it. It's a driving event. You'll be cruising around in the showgrounds. There's a big sort of road network in there, in Nambour, right in the middle of town there. Dyno, put your car in a dyno, make good power, tell your mates. We can, what is it? Grab a granny, which is like a spear spud, except for we don't have spears anymore because we want to be protected from damage. So you've got a little claw that grabs the Granny Smith apple. You're driving around, go to woe, flat out.
Hop in with some cars. We're going to be there with our cars.
Yeah, you come and see us. We'll have all our cars there that we can muster up.
Everyone you can, as long as they're running and not getting painted.
Yeah. Oh, we might drag them in anyway if they're getting painted.
So if you're lucky, you can come jump in with us in the cars, go for a cruise.
We'll be cruising around. There's an expression session pad where you can line up, do a power skid, show off to your mates.
It's going to be fun.
I reckon it sounds mint. This event's being run by a bloke that I've known for many years.
Old Sharpie.
Longer than I'd care to remember or can remember.
So check the link in the description, get your tickets, bring your car along. You've got to have a modified car. You can't just rock up in Grandma's...
It's called 3 mods.
You can't rock up in Grandma's VY Commodore, whatever Grandma drives.
It's got to be a modified car. We don't want to take up the whole place with Camrys and junk like that.
To an extent, but you probably wouldn't
be watching
this show. I'm sure
you guys can handle it. There's plenty of that.
You probably wouldn't be watching this show if you don't have a modified car. So come along. Camping. Stay the night. We're going to be out there. It's going to be cold.
The whole works. They've got cinemas. It's a family event. You can bring your fam.
The drive-in cinema's going to be sweet.
Bring your grandma if you want, as long as she's into cars.
Put a mattress in the back of the Bedford, sit out and watch the cinema.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Millsy'd be all over that, I reckon. Right. Anyway, Power On Petrie, August 16th to 18th. You better come there. We're going to be selling shirts. It's going to be great. Benny's going to be there? Is Benny going to be there?
I'm not sure.
Not confirmed yet.
I think he might be in America by then.
Oh, okay then.
He's a busy man.
He's a very busy man. He's very motivated man, Benny.
He is.
Yeah. All right, so Alan's going to get stuck into this project because I'm going to bail out.
What?
I'm going to go look at a new car for myself.
Who's going to film?
Dude, you can film. That's all you.
I'm a mechanic, not a filmographer.
Same here. I'm a mechanic, not a cameraman either, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go head down the coast, have a look at a car. If it's good...
This is going to be a terrific quality film.
You know... What, my car or your filming?
My filming. This is just going to be pictures of my shoe the whole time.
That's all right, I'll work that out in the edit. That's all right. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, that's how I approach it. Work it out in the edit. You'll be right.
You'll have fun. I'm going to get this new car. We'll have a look at it at least.
I'm going to go for a ride.
Good to go? I'll see you when it's probably half finished, I think. So enjoy. See you, homie.
You're probably wondering why I'm driving this haggard little shopping trolley vehicle into the skid factory. And the reason for that is that it's actually my car. I got this a couple of years ago off a mate. He took the engine out of it to use in his project. It was a 1 litre 3-cylinder. and so I got the shell, and I then got a hold of a Daihatsu Pisa or something like that. I don't know, some little minivan thing that has a factory turbo 1.3 litre K3 engine in it. So Benny and I and Martin ended up doing some wrecker runs and mucking around with stuff and buying a whole other car, and ended up transplanting this 4-cylinder engine in the place of the 3-cylinder, and it's got a K3 gearbox on it as well. I think we ripped all that out of some other Sirion or something. I don't know. I don't really know Daihatsu stuff that well, but we Frankensteined it all in there and put a Haltech 750 on it, and it was all running. This was about 2 years ago, mind you, and then I got a bit busy, so I parked it, and since then it's been growing ants and that sort of thing, and housing leaves. So I thought I might drag it out of the car park and maybe finish it off, because it's not doing much good out there. So it was a factory turbo engine. He's a pretty powerful engine from standard, actually, for a 1.3. A good thing, you can put a heap of boost in them, which we like. The problem was was in this particular vehicle, this thing's stumpy as, it's very, very small engine bay. The turbo was kind of like here somewhere, so I had to take the factory turbo off, and I just on-sold that to someone with a Sirion or something, and make a new manifold to fit Old Faithful, the old TD04 off a WRX. I get some fairy gives these to me, so I seem to have them all the time. So I just use them on everything within reason. So we've got a half-built exhaust manifold here, a log manifold as you do. So I'm going to finish that off. Mount the turbo. It had air conditioning, and back in the day I was like, yeah, I'm going to have air conditioning, that'll be cool. But like most project people do, they give up on the air conditioning halfway along the way because it's just in the way and it's too hard, and I don't care. So I'm going to get rid of all that and throw it all away. Make room for an intercooler and that out the front here. The engine runs on the Haltech, no problem at all. It does need tuning. And we've got to do all the suspension and that sort of thing. It's got wheels and stuff on it and decent tyres and that, but I want to be able to sort of punt it around like a motor car sort of track a bit, so we might put some coilovers or something like that in it. But for the moment, we're going to get rid of the aircon, put that turbo on, finish that manifold, make an exhaust, intercool the pipes, and get it tuned, and we'll see what happens after that.
Al's Charade has been sitting in the background of the skid factory for over 2 years and has accumulated a few ant colonies and layers of gum tree leaves in the wiper cowling. Before work begins, Al cleans them up with a vacuum and then gets started on removing the air conditioning condenser and compressor.
As you can see, leaving it sitting around for a couple of years has let the mud wasps have their way with it. It's also had its fair share of ant colonies inside it that I've had to deal with the help of Dunning-Kruger who's also an antologist. Don't leave your cars lying around and finish them. So I've just cleaned out all the mud wasp filled threads for the exhaust manifold. We've got to get new studs for it. It used to have a big cast manifold on it that had really long studs, so I need short ones. So we're going to pop into town and grab some of those, and also grab an exhaust dump flange off Miles, who's got a standard one, which is perfect for what we want to do. A few things about the car, I didn't mention it. It's an L251 Daihatsu mirror, but for some reason in Australia they call it a Charade, which is the larger vehicle, so who knows why. They probably ran out of mirror stickers and had Charade ones left over, but that's, most Daihatsu people would call it a mirror. Daihatsu made tons of these things. They also they were made under license in Malaysia by Perodua. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, so sorry Malaysian people. So there's heaps of these around. They're actually a pretty great little car. Heaps of space on the inside, very small on the outside. That's how the Japanese roll when they got no space. So shoehorning a big engine in, that's putting a bit of Aussie into it. So the K3 engine, as I said, it's a very strong engine. It's iron block, which is unusual for a small engine like this. They usually gone to alloy. So it's pretty tough, and it's actually partly designed by Toyota. There is a K3 engine that has a Toyota name. I can't remember what that is. It's lots of X's and Z's usually with Toyotas. But they do actually use these in Toyota cars as well, and there's a 1.5 litre version also as a 1.3. So good thing, gearbox, it's basically the same as what was in it before, but it's got a different bell housing on it. So we had to buy a whole car from a wrecker to get that, and also this front timing case, we had to replace that as well, because this particular Daihatsu doesn't mount the same as all the other ones, like the little bubbly ones like the MCM show car, which Miles also owns now. They have a different mounting system. They sort of mount off this entire subframe, whereas this is a very lightly built car. It just mounts it off the body. So this engine didn't have a front mount on the case, so we got a different timing case altogether. Changed a few things around and just made one mount, and she all bolted in with Daihatsu parts box stuff. So that was a long time ago, but it's still in there and it still runs. I just move it around the yard as required until now. I'm going to get it finished. So me and my assistant are going to pop into town and grab some stuff, go see Miles, get that dump pipe flange, and then we're going to come back and finish off that manifold. It's partially finished, and actually I had Marty here once, and he helped me weld that up, or more so I made him weld it up because he wanted to learn a bit more. So it's almost done. We just got to put another couple of runners in it. It's all positioned and everything. Now that I don't have the air conditioning in the way, I don't have much to worry about. We'll just figure out how to run it out into an intercooler. I've got a half a dozen little intercoolers for various types there. I'll make one fit along the way, but we'll get to that. Let's go to town.
After visiting the local parts store and popping in to see Miles at AM Auto, some shorter studs are fitted so the exhaust manifold can be bolted on correctly. The manifold flange has to be drilled out. This is because it is made with a plasma cutter and some of the bolt holes aren't 100% true, so making each hole slightly larger will account for any errors. The core of the turbo is rotated so that the oil drain is facing the correct way. Al then starts on finishing off the middle runners in the manifold. A log-type manifold is a very simple yet effective design. We've previously covered making a set of log manifolds in our Turbo 1UZ Ford Fairlane build series. Using some 32 nominal bore mild steel tube, Al cuts up the middle runners and TIG welds them to the main log. The runners are then all flattened off on the bench linisher after a new belt has been fitted. A large piece of C-channel steel is used to secure the manifold flange and prevent it from warping while being welded.
Here's our completed exhaust manifold. Very simple thing, pretty easy to make. That's all it needs to be. It's a turbo manifold, not a set of extractors. So now I'm just going to bolt her on, and then we'll start bolting bits of the turbo on. I'll probably just put the exhaust housing on for the moment, and then we'll have to move the compressor and stuff around once we get the intercooler in place, because we might have to clock it. But we'll bolt this on for good now. It's ready to go. It all came up nice. You can see I bolted it down and welded it to a C-channel to keep it flat, and it worked really well. Welding in stages all around to distribute the heat better, and that stops that flange from warping. That's a very short flange, so it's also got that advantage. The longer they get, the more warpage you're going to get. But that worked out really well. Gave that a scrape off as well. That little bench linisher is absolute gold for this. It's the best thing you could do. You got to throw a belt on it every now and then, like as you saw. When you're doing a flange, that's probably when you should splash out on a new belt, because that's going to be the longest. You sort of got to stand there doing it, so you better off starting with a new sort of coarse-ish belt, so you can get through it. Fortunately, that one wasn't too bent, so it was pretty pain-free, really. So let's throw her on. We've got the flange really pulled right in towards the engine, just because of the size of the turbo, and the gap here on this one bolt is pretty minimal. Rather than grind away some of the manifold, I attempted to just thin out a nut to fit in there, and almost got there, but I don't think it's got enough thread to actually do the job. So I've pulled the housing back off, and I'm just going to helicoil this hole, and then we can use a stud in it rather than nut and bolt. So that'll get around that problem. Now that I've got the exhaust housing bolted on, I've just slipped the core in there. I'm going to have to pull that in and out a few times because we've got to fiddle around with also both the angle of the core just for the oil drain and that sort of thing, but also the compressor cover that may go anywhere. I have to put the whole front frame back on to clear that first. So it's all just loose at the moment. This looks like it's poking out in the breeze, and it kind of is, but it won't surprise you. But I've already sort of done half of this earlier, so this particular panel was quite thick, and I've cut it away and reinforced it with a piece of tube and tack welded it on, and now it's gone rusty because it's been sitting around forever. But that goes in there, so the actual dump pipe will come from here, just out of the turbine area. And for that, I've got this old Subaru. Well, it's not even an old one. It looks like it's not very old at all. But I got that off Miles. He's replaced the stock dump with an aftermarket one, of course. So we're just going to use that plate. I'm going to cut this original piece off and just open that up. That's 60 mil, and I need it to be 63 mil. So I normally just cut them away and then try and grip this in the lathe and just give it a little cutaway. I'm not going to worry about that being flat. That's how it works. They make 200 and something kilowatts from a 2 litre with it like that. Yeah, it might be a bit better if you have a wastegate relief, but honestly, it's not going to make any difference on this 1.3 litre engine, so that's the way it's going to stay. So that's going to be good to go. Obviously, without that, it'll exit under there where it's supposed to exit. We're going to make a 2.5 inch exhaust for it. Intercooler wise, I've got a couple of these little things, a couple of different sizes. I think this one's a bit bigger, so I'll probably just use it. Now that the air conditioning is gone, it's obviously got a lot more space there, so that's going to tuck in like that, I think. And what we'll try and do is get the compressor to join straight up to that with just one piece of silicone. That'll allow a bit of engine movement, and then we'll have obviously no piping, which is a good thing. Less piping the better. So that should all fit pretty well. But first up, I'm just going to get this oil drain sorted. This oil drain is an O-ringed in pipe. As you can see, I've just blocked it off because I've been sort of driving it around the yard with no turbo on it. That used to be a solid piece that went directly to the actual turbo, which was up here somewhere, which I've just cut off. So I'm going to have to trim that off again, and also it needs a retainer because it sort of just floats around in there. We'll need to put a little tab off it or something to stop it from actually falling out of the block. And then I think just a short hose up to the turbo should do it. So that should work out fine. Oil feed, I've actually just capped off the oil feed because I've been driving it around as well. So that'll be just a piece of AN-4 hose going straight to it. No dramas there. I'll just make something up. So I might do a bit of that fiddly work, and then we'll get on to intercoolers and that sort of thing.